Welcome back, Juventinità, to the Juventinità, back to Black and White Podcast. My name's Daniel Anigro, and we're live from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And today we're going to be going over the Juve Genoa preview. So, again, that's going to be a big game tomorrow, coming off of the Barcelona win. And that obviously rounds out the group stage. And then on Monday, we're going to be seeing who we're going to be coming up against in the round of 16. And again, if you haven't heard already, obviously big live stream coming up before at 4 a.m. my time. So yes, if I'm half asleep during this, don't hold me to don't hold if I miss comments or whatever. Don't hold me to it because I might be just barely hanging in there at 4 a.m. when this draw goes down. But we'll be there. We'll be talking with you guys, the fans, and obviously living it as the balls come out and as the draws line up, and we'll see who Juve gets. But before that, like I said, this game, Juve Genoa, and we're going to have a returning guest, obviously another Daniel. We bring another Canadian back, but welcome back, bud. It's been a long time, but finally been able to get you back on from Woodbridge, so it's nice to have you back.
Yeah, thanks again for having me.
Alrighty, so again, it's nothing new, so we don't need to get any initial acquaintance, initial information from you, so we can break right into it. Obviously, with the news, there's been a lot. I think this one kind of stood out from Tutto Sport. Negotiations have started with Juan Cuadrado to extend his contract at 32 years old. He wants to end his career at Juve. So I think this is a good talking point to kind of start. What are your thoughts when you hear that? What is kind of the first thing you think about? Do you like the idea? Not? What are your thoughts?
Well, it's certainly interesting as Cuadrado's been a fairly interesting player with an interesting career, so to speak. And he's a very versatile player, as we know. He can play up front, he can play in the midfield, but he can also play at the back as a wing back, as a false winger at the back, pushing the ball forward and gunning up. So depending on the contract structure, how much he's getting paid for how long, would dictate my opinion on the whole Cuadrado situation. So I can't really speak in terms of that thing. I don't really know the terms or the details, but I'm definitely not opposed to it because I think Cuadrado is a versatile player that offers something. And I wouldn't really classify him as Juve deadwood. So if the money's right and if the term is right, just as importantly, I'm personally okay with it.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And again, nothing's been said about dollar figures or anything like that. I think it's pretty preliminary. But to me, this just reminds me of a buyout waiting to happen. I don't know. When I hear Juve extending players to end their career, I just see bad contracts. So again, he's been playing well, obviously on the offensive side of the ball, I would say. Um, I see some horrible like $6 million contract coming up or something like that, like something ridiculous, and for like 4 or 5 years, and just something really stupid, and it's just going to hamper us in the long run. So I mean, look, I hope I'm proven wrong, but and I wouldn't mind. I think Albert said it pretty poignant on Twitter with having 1 year deals and extending every season depending on how well. I think that's your best bet. Maybe he doesn't want to sign. That's one thing. You might have to give him a 2, but I think yeah, give him very low. If you want to give him that 6, it's only should be for 1, maybe 2 years max. Because again, once he gets to 34, 35, you don't know really what he's going to, and you don't know what the team structure is going to look like. There's still lots to be determined, whether that be Dybala, whether that be Ronaldo, whether that be, any other pieces coming and going. We still don't know what's going to happen. So again, you don't want to put too many, you don't want to spend too much money up front, not knowing what you're going to need to reinforce down the line. So obviously Radu, the Dragusin, obviously 18-year-old. We're looking to pick him up, or obviously extend his current contract, which expires in June 2021, and should be announced by the end of the month. That was by Gazzetta, as well as Romeo Agresti and multiple others have been announcing that. But yeah, I mean, seems like a very promising talent. We've only seen a glimpse of him, and I mean, hopefully we can in some kind of throwaway games. We can put some of these younger guys on and get them some minutes at least, which is, away from the norm, I would say, in terms of Juve. So let's see what happens with that. Obviously, the FIFA men's player, the best, as they call it now, FIFA men's player 2020, the stupidest name. But anyways, we have the three finalists, Cristiano, Lewandowski, and Messi. Honestly, I think this is pretty straightforward. I think, you even look at the stats, and I believe it was IFTV had put the 2021, and I believe Lewandowski's ahead by a mile and a half. So I don't see, and I know you're a big Ronaldo fan, so I want to get your take on who you think is most deserving of this trophy. But
Yeah,
yeah, go ahead,
yeah,
boss.
yeah. No, as most people know, yeah, I'm obviously a Ronaldo fan. But if I can be objectional or fair, for
Yeah,
a minute, yeah, no, I completely agree with you, Daniel. Lewandowski should win the FIFA Best Player of the Year award, and I do believe he was the best player from a statistical standpoint through the calendar year. And him topping it off with the UCL victory is
yeah.
just the icing on the cake, right? I think Ronaldo had a good year. He had
Oh
some
yeah,
ups, he had some downs, right? At
yeah,
the start of the year when he had that nagging injury. And it's not to take anything away from him, but Lewandowski was just better. He created that mile and he ran with it. Messi had a pretty good year too last year, right? He's been struggling a bit this year, but he had a good year last year, although I would probably argue that Ronaldo ended off stronger. But again, this is Lewandowski's the bag, and really the only competition for this award specifically is the race between for the second runner-up spot, I would say.
yeah.
But this is Lewandowski's trophy, and he deserves it. And this is coming from a Ronaldo fan, so I would definitely say give it to Robert Lewandowski, and fair play to him. He's been a heck of a player, and in my opinion, he's the best striker in the world currently speaking.
For some reason, I can't find the stats. I swear I saved it right before we had to come on here. But anyways, let's see if I can find it quickly. Like I said, I think he was out by yeah, here we go. So obviously they have very similar games played. I think so. Ronaldo's got 46, Lewandowski 47, and Messi with 44 in 2019, 2020 club competitions. 37 goals, 7 assists for Ronaldo, 55 goals, 10 assists for Lewandowski, and 31 and 27 for Messi. So again, very I think like you said, put it best. He's pretty far ahead out there. And again, like you said, winning that trophy with the Champions League is a statement on his record. And I honestly I would be shocked. It was unfortunate he didn't get the Ballon d'Or because I think he should have probably won that one as well. I don't know why this year they decided not. I think it's ridiculous. It's not that difficult to hand out a trophy when we've
Yeah.
been able to play games. so
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
so that's fine. It is what it is. But again, we'll see what happens. You never know. Stranger things have happened, as I've said.
Yeah.
so if you see a different name on the trophy, don't say I told you so. But again, it would be shocking, but I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. Obviously, we get Alexander with a big interview. My guy, big IQ now. He's coming through. I took him under my wing while he was injured, and I showed him how to present interviews. I got him all through that, the whole 9 yards. So he's good to go. So we got him set up with Sky Sport there. He talked about the game against Barcelona, a very important victory, but for how it arrived and for the enthusiasm it generated, give an extra boost for the future. Against Torino at the end of the first half, there was the turning point. We had to do better, be meaner, clearer on the pitch. We did well, and we played better in the second half, taking them the 3 points. Playing in Genoa is always difficult. At times, it has happened that you can't win. It's always a special away match. Yeah, and I think that it's weird. We've had some really weird games against Genoa or even against Sampdoria, where it's a blowout or like it's a close game. So very strange in the history, especially at the Luigi Ferraris, which will be the game obviously tomorrow. Milan are doing great this season, but we have to think about ourselves. We are Juve, and our goal is to always win in Italy and in Europe. Sorry, first of all, to Paolo's family. Obviously, Paolo Rossi was just buried today, and then to his fans and to the football in general. Means a lot for the whole world. For us Brazilians, he decided the '82 World Cup. We know Rossi a lot in Brazil. He wasn't just important in Italy. Yeah, so big interview there, kind of saying it how it is for the past few games, plus obviously looking ahead, and a tribute. And yeah, um, it's it's gonna be interesting. Hopefully, we can keep this run of form going. But the next big thing that everybody's been talking about is Paul Pogba. Again, Raiola's been coming out. I don't know if what you've been hearing, Dan, but what are your thoughts? Swap, buy him, sell some players and buy him that way. Swap Dybala. Don't buy him. Pick up a different midfielder. I know I've been asking everybody now so far that's been on, because it's the hip thing, the in thing right now. So let's get your thoughts on it.
Yeah, the Paul Pogba situation just swoops right back in the Juve circle. I believe it was around this time last year when Juve fans were talking about a potential Pogba reunion. And as we know, Pogba is a former player, but at the same time, his agent, Mino Raiola, who tends to piss off a lot of people, especially Sir Alex Ferguson during his coaching days, has ties with the Juve club, right? He can get his clients to Juve, as we know, but he can also get them to other clubs. But no, in terms of Pogba to Juve, as we all know, the midfield definitely need a string puller. They need someone who can get the ball forward to our attackers, to Morata, to Ronaldo, to Dybala if he's playing up front rather than in the midfield. And they need someone just to dictate the tempo, to retain balls and then to push the ball forward. I don't know if Pogba's that guy personally. I mean, he's had success with Juve during his first stint there, and I think that's something we all got to recognize. But I would mention and say that he is a different player today than he was the last time he played for Juve when he was younger. Now Pogba's more in his prime, and this is it, right, in his career. I think over the next couple of years is going to be the final stages of growth.
Yeah.
If that really, and then it's probably going to be on the decline for him, right? So it all depends really on the fee, right? Based on today's market, with COVID, of course, players deals they're hit or miss, right? If you were to ask me this question last year, I would guarantee that Manchester United would probably ask for a fee of like 90 to 100 million, and that sounds ridiculous, right? Some people may believe that, others may believe he's worth 100 million. But if you look at his transfer market profile, I believe he's not worth 100 million. I think he's around 60 to 70. So I think if Juve can broker a deal anywhere between 40 to 60 million, but not going above 60 million, of course, I think maybe it's a fair deal. I don't know personally if I'd want to swap Dybala. I mean, me myself, I like Dybala. I recognize he's a good player. He's talented, but I don't believe he's being utilized correctly by Pirlo right now. And I think that's a problem, right? Because if Juve want to go far in the Champions League, I do think you need Dybala just like you need Ronaldo, right? I think both those guys are influential. Now, whether or not you think one's more influential than the others is a discussion for another day. But I don't know really if I'd want to swap Dybala for Pogba, to be quite honest with you. Me personally, just to wrap this up, I would probably look towards another midfielder, maybe someone who's a little younger or someone who would fit Juve's mold that may be in and around Pogba's age. I've always personally been a fan of Isco. I know this year it's been a very tough year for him. He's been on the bench. His confidence is shot. But if you look at him at his best days when he was being played 90 minutes every game weekly in the Champions League as well, he was a baller. He was the one pulling the strings with Kroos and Modric, and he was connecting with Ronaldo and Benzema and Bale, and they were unstoppable, right? I remember Isco was megging Dybala in the Champions League. I don't know if you remember that.
I think put that away. I put that in the back of my head.
Yeah, that was in the Champions League, but that just goes to show you the masterclass. And I think if you brought Isco to Juve to Turin, he would come number one at a significant lower cost than Pogba, considering his situation. And number two, I actually think, as of right now, presently speaking, he would fit Juve's mold much better. I think he would form greater chemistry at a quicker rate with guys like Weston McKennie, Aaron Ramsey, Rabiot, and all the others, quicker than someone like Pogba would. And I honestly think Isco would probably be the best midfielder in Serie A if he was to take his talent. So I would personally go for Isco. I don't think it's going to happen, but if Pogba was come to Juve, I wouldn't necessarily be mad, but it has to be for the right price, and they cannot overpay. And if they overpay, well, then it's just not a good financial decision.
Yeah, I agree. No, well said. Yeah, I think even Locatelli around that same price. But I agree. Yeah, 40 to 60. I wouldn't pay anything more than that, to be honest. And again, it's if you want to get if you see no way, no two ways about it with Dybala. I mean, you're losing a lot of value. I mean,
Yeah.
you've lost about half your stock value just in 1 year. So I mean, do you want to take that loss? I don't know. But then you're kind of hemmed in because this contract ends at the end of 2022. So do you want to offer him a new contract? Like that's kind of, I think, the give and take, right? Do you want to give him that new contract so then you're not losing? Because again, if they don't resolve anything by next year, he could walk away for free if he wants.
Well, that's it, right? And
So
and that's the last thing you want, right? The
yeah,
last
well,
thing you want
exactly.
is a guy like Dybala walking for free, right? That's essentially like when Borussia Dortmund let Lewandowski walk
Yeah.
for free, and he went to their direct rivals. I'm sure you remember that.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, Lewandowski wasn't as good back then, but he was still a very good player, right? And he had the potential to grow into the player that he is currently today. And the fact that Dortmund didn't get a penny for him
Yeah.
was
That hurts.
it was a blunder by management and even ownership to a certain degree. But back to Dybala, yeah, no, they need to figure something out in terms of contract. They need to settle somewhere in the middle because I know Dybala and his agent have been a little stingy in terms of the dollar amounts and how they want to work that contract. And I know Juve's a little hesitant to meet all his financial demands, and it's sort of understanding too because of the market we're in.
Right.
Juve losing a lot of money. I believe they do have some debt to pay off, if I'm right currently speaking. I read a little bit
Oh yeah,
about
we got
that.
lots of debt.
But
We got
right,
lots of
and
debt, man.
yeah, and to add on to that, COVID just makes it worse, right?
Oh,
COVID just
exactly.
basically means you got to sell players in order to buy players, and that means you're becoming one of these feeder clubs in terms of that sort of financial setting.
Yeah.
But I think we can all admit, though, Daniel, is we can all admit about the elephant in the room, and that is Juve needs that one midfielder who can pull the strings in the middle of the park to get the ball forward to the likes of our attacking trio or duo, depending on the formation we're playing. I think everyone can admit we need that player, regardless of whether it's Pogba, Isco, even Locatelli, like you said, who's a good
Yeah.
player in his own right. It has to be addressed, and Juve have not addressed that since the days when Pirlo was playing, right?
Yeah.
And they had the Fantastic Four. I believe that's what they call that's what they were called, or the Fab Four, or something like that. But that's when they had Pirlo and
Yeah. Well,
Vidal, and
I
that
mean,
was a fantastic midfield, right? They were able to contain Madrid and beat them in that UCL showdown. So Juve need that type of player, and they need him desperately.
yeah, it's well, I think for me it's more of MVP squared, right? Because you had just the initials. But yeah, I mean, unbelievable set of midfielders. Again, that's very difficult to replace, as
Yeah,
I'm sure Madrid will know. And I mean, even still, I mean, they haven't really got the same out of their midfield. And again, players age, right? So
yeah.
they showed up well today against Atletico Madrid, that's for sure. I was gonna say that Isco didn't start in that game, but yeah, I mean that's definitely, like you said, an option. I think yeah, it's more of I wouldn't say not necessarily to because I think Artur is a very good option for us. I think we almost need that guy that's connecting between him and the strikers, that number 10 position, and we really haven't found that yet. Um, because we've been playing in this double, the switch formation, going in from 4-4-2 to 3-4-1-2 or 3-5-2, whatever you want to call it. So it's not necessarily. I think we don't have the right player that can go. I think Ramsey's shown some good things in the past few games, but I don't think definitely near good enough to what because again, I would say this season we haven't looked great. We've obviously got a lot of scoring from our top two players, but that's about it. There's not really games I would say where we're, barring the Barcelona game. Maybe you look at Sampdoria, maybe you look at Cagliari for about one half. That's really all I'm seeing. Um,
I completely agree, Dan. And if I can add on to your point, which is a
yeah,
good segue point, it's that Juve don't really know how to bury teams. Now they buried Barcelona last game, which was great, and to this point of the season, that's unquestionably been their best game of the
yeah,
season, right? But if you look at any of their other games, whether it's through Champions League or even Serie A, I don't know, they haven't had a game of that caliber, right?
no,
And they tend to be hesitant in terms of closing out games and finishing them and putting the sword to the neck. Juve have had trouble doing that, and even Pirlo has admitted it too. And it is a fairly new group in some respects, so time's going to
yeah,
be needed. But in terms of the midfield, yeah, I personally like Arthur or Artur, however you pronounce it, the player we got in the swap with
yeah,
Pjanic from Barcelona. He's young. I think he offers something going forward. So I do hope that Pirlo continues to utilize him. And I would ask or hope, because Pirlo would never listen to me. But I
me
think,
either.
eh, yeah, and it's not in a bad way. Pirlo's growing and he knows the game, so
Yeah,
he's learning as he goes too, in all fairness and respect. But it would be nice if Arthur would be given more game time, but more specifically, if he could start games more, because I think if you would start him, I think he could press that tempo and he could raise the tempo,
yeah,
and possibly Juve could score a couple goals earlier in a lot of games and just finish them off in the first half rather than waiting for the last 10 minutes in the second half. But
yeah.
it'll be interesting. But Juve still need that one piece, and I
Right.
would also argue that they also need some reinforcements in the back with Bonucci getting older. Collini, unfortunately, is getting hurt. As much as a brick wall he's been
Yeah.
for the Juventini, unfortunately, his days are looking a little numbered, which is quite sad considering he is a club legend. So obviously, De Ligt's there, Demiral's there, who's a player I'm familiar with when he was playing in Portugal with Sporting Lisbon. So I think they do need to add something to the back as well, but the midfield definitely has to be addressed, and it hasn't been addressed, unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly. And I think again, we'll see what happens in the winter market. Hope to bring on Max Statman again a few times actually, to get his opinion, see what he's really thinking, what he's hearing from these big names. It doesn't look like David Alaba is gonna be coming, according to Romeo Agresti. He wants to move to Spain, so that's some news. Again, more on Pogba. Again. It's all going to be, there's been multiple things said, right? I mean, he doesn't think there's going to be a swap. A loan or a loan with obligation is more possible. That's obviously from Romeo Greci again. Christian Folk obviously talking about the Paul Pogba move, um, saying that Mino Raiola, speaking about this deal, um, is obviously pressure from the player, and you know it's possibility of losing a client if he doesn't do so. So, I mean, I don't know if that's true. Obviously, Mirko Di Natale from Tutto Juve, obviously talking about it as well, saying that he wants to return to Turin immediately. I don't know. I've been saying this a couple times. I think this could be a definite pitfall for us. Um, Getting too hyped up into this, and then him ultimately going to Madrid or somewhere of the like, when it just doesn't work out on the last day. But again, we'll see what happens with that. Again, it's like you said, it's got to be the right price. There's a lot of moving pieces. I would like to see Bernardeschi. I would like to see Kadira. I would like to see even Ramsey possibly
Yeah.
go if it's again, if that's a possibility. Get those wages off the books and move them on. And I still think they got some value. I think Ramsey, I'm sure, will have some interest from the Premier League. Bernardeschi. It just depends on where he wants to go. Say what you want if you want to believe about the UR. If he was holding up that deal or not. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if that's true or not. I mean, it's what people have been talking about, but if that's actually reality, we don't know. But again, transfer news is going to continue on. It's not going to slow down. So we'll move on from that. Obviously, something that's good. Morata won the appeal, or Juve won the appeal for Morata. So he's going to be available against Genoa. Not necessarily sure if he's going to start because of Romeo Gresti obviously saying that Dybala is going to get the start. Now, I don't know. Sky Sports has him in as well. But before we get into lineup, let's talk about the Champions League a little bit. I've been asking everybody as well. We get into this next phase. We were lucky enough now to get obviously top of the group, but these next opponents I don't necessarily see as pushovers. We got Atletico Madrid possibility, FC Porto, FC Sevilla, Red Bull Leipzig, and Borussia Mönchengladbach. So out of those, 5 names, who are you kind of wanting, or do you see it as who cares? You got to play the best teams anyways, so it doesn't really bother you. But if you could pick, Danny, who would you pick?
That's a tough one because, as you said, none of them are pushovers, none of them are lightweights, and there's actually a few of them that scare me a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Like you look at Leipzig, I think they could cause Juve some problems with their physicality, with their counterattacks. I think
Yeah.
they're pretty good defensively, but I think they could give Juve a hard time. FC Porto, I don't know. I mean, I've seen a few of their games, and they're
Current
definitely no
champions.
pushover either, right? They did well against Man City, holding them to a 0-0 draw. But I think Juve would be a more favorable matchup for Juve.
Okay.
I will say this: it would be awesome if they could play Atletico Madrid again. Obviously, the history or the recent history that Juve
Yeah.
has with Atletico and what went down in that game. But this Atletico team's stronger than that previous Atletico team, right? And
That's
they're
true.
definitely not a pushover either, and they defend very well. But probably the team I think I would want is probably Borussia Mönchengladbach. Again, they're physical, but if I had to pick one, maybe it's them because I don't think they're as good offensively as the other teams. Maybe you can make the argument that they're a little bit better than
They got
Porto
Turam, I think.
offensively.
They got
They do
Turam. They
have
got play.
Thuram, yep.
But again, they don't have the experience. That's kind of what a lot
exactly.
of the census has been out from some of the fans I've had on so far.
Yeah, and for me, really, if they could get Mönchengladbach or Porto, those would probably be the two most favorable, considering that, Porto, they've been stripped of a lot of players over the offseason, losing guys like Danilo. They even lost their wonder kid in Fabio Silva, who went to
There
the
you
Wolves, because, they need money too. They're also in debt. So I think those two teams would probably be the clubs that Juve would want to face. But honestly, either way, based on the list of teams you mentioned, none of them are pushovers. Porto are pretty clean defensively, as you saw, against a stacked attacking side like City. So whoever they get, they just got to be up to par and willing to just finish them off in both legs. And that's how you win this tournament, right? In order to be the best, you've got to beat the best. So I've always said that. And honestly, I don't think Juve should worry one bit, whether it's Atletico Madrid or Borussia Mönchengladbach.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like you said, put it very well. You're going to have to be, if it's not this round, it's the next round. If it's not the next round, it's going to be the one after that. And then the final. It's very few and far between when you can get a very clean route to the finals. I mean, sometimes you get lucky that way, but it's pretty difficult. You're going to have to beat, either two really great teams. And we've known that, right? I mean, we've had to beat, Real in the semis and then play obviously Barca in the final, or beat teams like I guess the road to the final against Madrid maybe was a little bit lighter, playing Spurs and who else was it?
Monaco.
Yes, we had Monaco late, but again they upset City.
Yes.
in that year. So again, like it's not like your team that wasn't playing anyone else. They were obviously good enough to be there. Um, but yeah, it's again, you gotta beat the teams. It's not just or is that the year we beat Barca as well that year? Maybe. I think it was that
I
year we
think
beat
so.
Barca
Yes.
in the round
Yeah,
of
that
16 or quarterfinals.
I believe that's when Dybala scored his hat trick, if I
Yeah,
remember
yeah.
correctly.
So that was Yeah, so it was quarterfinals Barca. Then
And
we
then
went to go play
semis.
Monaco, and then we
Yeah.
went to go play Madrid. So again, we had to play two
Yep.
teams again. So again, you're not dodging any of the
Right.
bullets. You got to play them at some point, and if you want to, like I said, if you want to lift the trophy, you got to beat the best. So again, it would be nice, like you said, to get an easier, a little bit of a breather. But Juve likes to play down to competition too many times, so maybe if we got someone with a little bit more of a challenge, it would be, refreshing. Obviously, the last game, you kind of put it very simply. Let's get your take on some of the Barcelona reaction. I thought it was a good game. Looking back on it, I think there was a lot defensively that Barcelona was lacking. You look at some of the goals they were letting, marking two on Ronaldo and letting McKennie run through the middle. Again, you could say that's a good scheme, that's good tactics. Ronaldo's a player that's going to draw a lot of attention, so it's going to be a good tactic for us in the future for him to put him through the box. It allows some other guys to get open. It's nice to see some more balanced scoring now. Obviously, with McKennie scoring again, we have Bonucci scoring in the Derby della Mole as well as McKennie again. Chiesa with a goal, Kulusevski scoring. So I think that's something that's nice to see. At the end of at the dual-edged sword to that, though, I did think we gave a lot in that second half. I think we were fortunate that Barcelona wasn't able. We were pretty stout defensively, but I think Barcelona just wasn't up for the task to really put anything on us. And a lot of the shots, Buffon made quite a few nice saves, but also a lot of those shots were kind of directly on target. And obviously, he knows where to position himself, so he pretty made it look pretty easy for us at his age. So that was also nice to see. But again, any further comments you have to make on Juve Barca before we got into the match facts?
Well, yeah, I think you put it perfectly, Daniel. And the fact that Juve came out running and gunning is something
Yeah.
we haven't seen for a while, and it was something refreshing and even rewarding for all the players, right? I think that's
Oh yeah.
kind of the morale boost they needed. I mean, I don't know if you follow Ronaldo on Instagram, but that nice message that he sent on behalf of the team and for
Yeah.
the players and everything. It's clear that now they have some confidence, and hopefully they can build that wave and just ride it to the very end. But no, in terms of the game, more in terms of technicality, it was pretty stellar. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously Barcelona are a big team by name, but in all fairness, they are a club right now that are currently in shambles, as we know, and there's
Yeah.
problems with Messi and the locker room and
Motivation.
Coleman trying to implement his new tactics and all of that, and they have some more new young players that are trying to acclimate to the system. So Juve did run into a favorable matchup, so to speak. But at the end
Right.
of the day, they still beat a fairly quality side, right? There's some good names in
Oh
that
yeah.
squad: Messi, Griezmann. The list goes on. Even Ter Stegen in net is a pretty good goalie. I would say he's up there. Some people say that Juve's result was at the direct hands of Barca being in shambles. Other people believe that it was Juve having a great day and going for it. Either way, they won the game. That's what matters.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what state Barcelona is in because you have to play the game anyways. But it
Right.
was
Right.
just really rewarding to see the midfield just going up and down all game, retrieving balls,
Oh
getting
yeah.
the balls up to Murata and Ronaldo. I haven't seen that from Juve for a while, which was refreshing. Ronaldo was great, right? He scored his two pens. Obviously, there's
Yeah.
people who are going to say they're penalties, they're easy, but you still got to step up and take them and put them in the back of the net. But the one thing I will add is he was very impressive that game. But for me, the standout player who I'm going to name that isn't named Ronaldo is actually Weston McKennie.
Yeah.
And I say Weston McKennie because that guy was just all over the pitch. He was taking balls off of Messi. He was making Griezmann's lives harder. You know, his goal was unquestionably the best goal of the game in terms of the build-up play.
Yeah.
Ronaldo drawing those two guys in and
Yeah.
him just flying in there with the header. For me, that was just high IQ football, and they got to keep doing that both in Champions League and Serie A. But I mean, just on that game alone, that kid has already
Yeah.
warranted Juve to trigger his purchase clause,
Oh, yeah.
regardless of what the fee is, right? And I don't believe that it's high.
It's like
I
18
think
and
I
a
read,
half, I think. 18 and a
yeah,
half, yeah.
I read it was like 16, 18 million. Either way, Juve have to pay it. That kid needs to be a Juventini player next year. And to me, those are the types of players that Juve need to surround themselves with in the
Yeah.
middle of the park. Because Weston McKennie, he has an engine like no other. He's a smart player. He's fast. He knows how to get balls forward. And he also has an eye for goal, too. He has
Yeah.
a good shot. It's fairly accurate. And he understands where to be in the box, too. But overall, it was a great game from everyone. Even Ronaldo was coming back. He stripped Messi of the ball, which was great, right? Because at his age, it's tough for him to get back. But it was great to see that he was willing to find that extra energy in his tank that
Yeah.
to kind of use and consume just to get back and help the team. But for me, there was no weak player that game. There was no weak player at all. Everybody was up to par, and I would probably argue even more up to par. And I will say this, regardless of who the opponent is, Juve just need to go into every game pretending like it's a Barcelona, because if they do that, I think they could get to the semifinals. And when you have an ace like Ronaldo who
Yeah.
can change the game, right, in the Champions League, they call
Right.
him Mr. Champions League for a reason. When you got that type of player, maybe if Dybala can build some more chemistry, right,
For sure.
have a Barcelona-like game a few years ago, who's to say Juve can't make it to the semis, maybe even
Oh,
to
yeah.
the finals, right? Luck plays a factor in it too. And yes, Juve aren't as strong as other teams on paper, but the game's not played on paper, right? The
Right.
game's played on a field, and it's the best team battles it out within 90 minutes is who wins. So that game to me is a confidence booster, and I
Yeah.
really hope they build on that tomorrow against Genoa. And I really hope their mentality is up to the sky, because they should not look down on any opponents. If anything, they need to look up, because when they look up at their opponents, Daniel,
Yeah.
they play very well. And that team that I saw against Barcelona, I think they could even give some of the better teams a difficult time, maybe even a Manchester City, right?
Oh, for sure. For sure. Yeah, no, it's well said. Very well said, Annie. Yeah, I think for me, being someone who's been very critical of Ronaldo, obviously, you know that. But
That's fair.
I think unbelievable performance. I wouldn't necessarily say Ronaldo had one of his best performances of his career, but what I like to see, and I think this is where you get the disconnect between the Juve fans and the Ronaldo fans, is the fact that like you mentioned perfectly, him coming back, him putting in the work. That's all Juve fans like to see. We get into these moments where we're in these bad moments, and maybe he's at the top, rightfully so in his position, but it just was a perfect team effort. And I haven't seen a perfect team effort in ages. So it was unbelievable. It was nice to see everybody. It was nice to see Ronaldo working hard. It was nice to see. And again, I'll give the guy his due. I mean, he put the penalties in that he had to score, and that's all you can ask for. You can't ask for much more than that. And yeah, it was phenomenal on all counts. In my review, I didn't put one person as a negative, because it was just all the pieces fell into place. And like you said, they got to do that with other teams. Now we're going to get into this game. Obviously, it's going to be played on the 13th, excuse me. And it's going to be at the Luigi Ferraris, meaning it's in Genoa. 10 a.m. game for me, 12 noon in the East, 9 Pacific, and 6 p.m. European time, Central European time. So let's look at the records. Juve 5-5, 20 points, 5th place. Still lots of room to grow. Genoa 1-3-6 with 6 points in 19th place. So in the relegation hole. essentially a bottom versus top team. But like I said, we hope it doesn't come down. I think Juve is going to have the ability to gun, and I think they should be able to put like at least 3-4 goals, and you're going to see that in my prediction. Ronaldo being the top scorer with 8 in Serie A, and Genoa's top scorer is our former player Marco Piazza with 3. But their form hasn't really been great. 4 losses and a draw on the trot. For us, win, draw, win, draw, win. That's obviously just in Serie A, guys. To look in our, injury list, if you want to call it that, obviously still Chiellini, Demiral, and Pinsolio is suspended, obviously, after getting that red card in the derby. Genoa has a long list of injuries, and this is why I think we should be able to run riot. Zapata, Crescito, Perin, Marchetti for their 2 goalkeepers are out. Scone, apparently, coach's decision is out. Zappacosta, Parigini, Biraschi, Cassata, and Melegoni, all apparently out according to Score. So yeah, they got a heap of players on the mend, and I don't think any of those are really related to COVID. So we'll see what their lineup is tomorrow. Let's look back at a couple games. Obviously, the most recent, June 30th, 2020, Juve 3-1 win with Dybala, CR7, and Douglas Costa putting us up 3-0. And I believe Genoa getting a consolation goal there at the end. October, which was at Genoa. Then at home, in the same season, October 30th, 2019, Juve wins 2-1 with Bonucci and CR7 Bonucci scoring as well as CR7 in the 90th +6. If anyone wants to go look up Bobo the Clown reacting, that's the game that it was. And him freaking out like a madman, that's the game. So there you go. Just in case you didn't know. March 17, 2019, obviously the previous season. That's where we lose 2-0 at Genoa. And that's the game that a lot of people are talking about. Sturaro, our former player, and Pandev scored in those games. And it was really a horrible game in its entirety. Then you have October 20th, 2018. And again, 1-1 tie, Juve Genoa, CR7 with the goal, and Besa for Genoa. Couple. So it hasn't been all roses when we've gone to the Ligurian capital. I don't know. I don't know why we have such difficulties there, but we do sometimes. Or again, sometimes it's clear as diamonds. I don't know. I really couldn't tell you why we have. Again, it could be to playing down to teams, stuff like that. Not having enough intensity, and those are really all key factors to go in. But let's look at the lineup. We got Tech in goal. This is obviously from Sky Sports, everyone, so take it with that grain of salt as always. Tech in goal. Alexandro is the left back. Bonucci, Delict, and Quadrado is your back line. Chiesa on the left, which is probably going to happen again if Kulusevski, which is going to be as the right mid, with Rabiot and McKennie in the middle. There's your 4 mids, and then Ronaldo and Dybala. Now, again, Romeo Grassi did say Dybala was going to start. I would make that decision because we have a midweek game against Atalanta coming up, and I would say that's the more important of the two. If you want to play your best pair up top, that's the game to play it. Obviously, Morata coming off the midweek, so he's been played already. I don't know. That's up for you guys to decide. What are your thoughts? And please comment please comment below if you think of anyone else that should be there, should not be in there, or any of the opinions we've talked about so far. If you think Ronaldo should win the best, let me know in the comments. But anyways, your thoughts on the lineup, Danny?
Well, yeah, it's not really surprising considering players we have at our disposal, as well as the injuries with guys like Demiral and Chiellini, of course. The one thing I will say is I would like to try a McKennie-Arthur pair in the middle. I think that's something that could work. Maybe have Rabiot come in as a sub.
Fair enough.
But other than that, I don't really have too many complaints about it because, again, these are the players that Juve have to work with, and they aren't as deep as other teams in other leagues. I mean, I think it's a good thing that Dybala is starting because he hasn't really gotten a lot of playing time. So it would be nice maybe against the team as weak as Genoa that he can get the ball rolling. If he could get a goal, that's some confidence to build on. And bringing Morata in the second half, he's played quite a bit this season, and he's warranted
Right.
that playing time. But giving him a rest against a weak side like this, that way he's fresh for the game against Atalanta, is a smart move in my opinion. Either way, it's good to see that Juve have some options to play with and fall back on. But again, this lineup, it's more than okay for a side against Genoa. But they just got to make sure their mentality is good heading into the game. And to me, they got to score at least 3 goals, at least 3 to 4 goals, and just bury them by the first half. It would be nice if they could reach 6 or 7, but that may be a little too much to ask for with the
6 or
Juventini.
7, Jesus.
I know. I like to run up the score personally, but it may not be possible with this lineup, but we'll see. I'll say my prediction's probably 2 or 3, and I'll predict a little less because when I predict less with Juve, they tend to prove me wrong.
Well, that's good.
And I hope they prove me wrong, right? I would love to see them maximize the amount of goals, right? Because currently speaking, they're in 5th. They're tied with 20 points apiece with Napoli, and they're only 2 games worth of victories behind Milan, and they haven't even played Milan, right? So if they can keep winning out and they play Milan and beat them, they should be in first, no problem. Obviously, Juve had a little bit of a slow start, but that could maybe be attributed to the COVID and the way this whole season has started. But regardless, they're in it. They can still win the league. There's no reason to worry or panic at this point.
Right.
Lots of football to be played. But this game is a game where you got to pad your stats in terms of team goal differential. So that's why it should be at least 3 to 4 goals from me.
Yeah, that's definitely what I would pick. I think just on the Genoa front, like I said, Marchetti got hurt in the last game against Fiorentina. It seems like they play a 4-1-2-1-2. I mean, if you want to call it a 4-4-2 or a 4-3-1-2, I mean, again, the way they call these formations make me laugh. But obviously, Mazziello was starting as their left back. Bani, Zapata, who probably won't be in this game, so we'll see who goes in for him. Maybe Giglioni, who was his sub, so I'm guessing he won off as an injury as well. Peliari will probably start in goal. Goldeniga as their right back. Let's see, who else got injured? Sturaro, Lerager, Radovanovic, Pellegrini as your 4 kind of in the middle there in the diamond, and Scamacca and Shmurodov as your strikers. So again, it's going to be interesting to see who they field tomorrow. I'm assuming Piazza's probably going to start, especially being their top scorer. But let's see what happens. And yeah, let's get obviously keys to the match. I think it's pretty simple. Don't underestimate Genoa. Motivation, intensity, like the game with Barcelona. And if you bring that same energy and you push them, I think again we should be able to take advantage of this squad that's been weakened heavily through injuries and is rightly so at the bottom of the table. And if we can do that and play as a team, work together, there should be no real issues with this game. So predictions, I know you said 3-4 goals. I think I'm going to go 4-0 Juve. Ronaldo, Morata, Kulusevski, and Chiesa all are going to get 1 goal each. Who do you think is scoring for you?
Well, for me, I'm actually going to predict 2 to 3 goals. That way, maybe Juve will have some more cushion to prove me wrong. But no, I think Ronaldo will score, of course. These are games he has to score, and rightfully so. I hope Dybala scores. Whether I'm a little iffy because he is down a little bit on confidence, and he isn't 100%. You can tell. So I'll keep him as a maybe if we end up 3-0. But if it's 2-0, I say Ronaldo, and then Morata scores as a substitute. So
I'm doing the reverse jinx. If I don't mention Dybala's name like I have maybe about 4 times now already, maybe he actually will score. So I'm going to try and play those mind games. But it's going to be good. It should be a good game. 10 a.m. Not too early, not too late. And again, guys, we're going to be keeping you heavily entertained with the amount of podcasts that are going to be coming out. We're going to get obviously a group stage review. We're going to have the Twitter legends, as I call them. They're going to all be coming on. They've already come on, excuse me. So that's going to be coming out obviously after this one. But yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff. We got the live stream coming up tomorrow night. please stay tuned for that. And join me if you got a couple minutes, obviously 9 p.m. Mountain Time. Just come say hi. I want to kind of play around with StreamYard Suite and see how I can get this going. And, just hopefully get better from there on out. We're going to have a big live stream of the UEFA draw. So guys, come chill with me. If you're going to be watching the draw anyway, come say hi. Let's talk about who we're gonna get, who the other teams are. We'll sit through that suspense. Hopefully, we don't have to wait too long to see who Juve is gonna be playing in the next round. But come have fun, come chill. Like I said, it's gonna be 4 a.m. And that pretty much wraps it up for us here. Thanks, man, for coming on. Thanks, Danny. I appreciate it. You're always a level-headed guy, so I like to have a good conversation, even though you are a Ronaldo fan. But no, it was fun. It was a lot of fun, and I hope to have you on in the future whenever we can make it happen. I know it's been kind of hectic lately, so it's kind of been bouncing back and forth, and I got to do a better job of that. But definitely, we'll be improving as we go along, and hopefully, a little Christmas break will allow me to rewire a couple loose screws up in my head, and take some time because it has been pretty busy year. But guys, thank you for all the support. I appreciate it. Stay tuned for a lot more to come. And again, a lot of great guests going to be coming along. And again, personally, thanks, Danny, for coming along the ride with us tonight.
Thanks again. It's always a pleasure, and always enjoy listening to your podcast. You got some good stuff going on.
Perfect, man. Perfect. So guys, again, enjoy all the content. You know where it is: iTunes, Spotify, Podbean, Google Podcast. And obviously YouTube with some other names unmentioned, but check it out. Obviously, if you hit the notification, you hit the bell, you hit the subscribe, the follow, you're going to be getting those right away as soon as possible. And it's going to make it a lot easier for you as well. It gives me the motivation. And again, it helps me out reach a bigger audience, get to those 100 subscribers. We're almost there. I think we're about 5 away now. It's been a up and down journey. We've hit it. We've come back down in one night. I don't know what the hell's going on with YouTube, but anyways, we're going to get there eventually, and we're going to keep going forward. And again, all I can say is thank you for all the support to obviously all the guests and all of the viewers. And we continue to grow together. More and brand new content going to be coming out shortly. So guys, as always, let's get a big win tomorrow. But fino alla fine, Forza Juventus. Ciao, guys.